USD 473 update on Eagle Community Television is brought to you by Branson and Chapman, professional entertainers from Branson, Missouri, performing in Chapman for you. Don and Mary Rickley, Coldwell Banker Maury Custer Realtors, supporting USD 473 and the families and communities keeping it alive. Carl Trucking, strong supporters of the USD 473 school system and all they do for our youth. KVK Incorporated Building Systems Management, providing quality service for all your residential and commercial heating and air conditioning needs. Mojo Music in downtown Chapman, Kansas, now offering lessons. Call or stop in today. Kohlhoff Pharmacy, your family-owned pharmacy, voted best pharmacy in the Flint Hills, offering free delivery to Chapman. Chapman Food Mart. Chapman Food Mart is your hometown market, supporting USD 473, its families, and the community. And Eagle Communications, our community connected.
Hi folks, I'm Lacey Sell, Superintendent of USD 473 in Chapman, Kansas, and we're filming now for the 473 update for Eagle TV. Here with me this morning is Mr. Randy Heller, our Transportation Director. So, good morning, Randy.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Are you ready for this?
I am.
Okay. Well, Mr. Heller is our Transportation Director down here at the bus shop or the transportation facility. That's where we're taping from this morning. Randy, I'm going to begin by asking you how many years you have been affiliated with USD 473.
Almost 40 years.
Almost 40 years.
It'll be 40 years this June.
40 years in June. So you began as a student.
I was a student, and then I was out of school for 1 year, and then I came to work down here as a mechanic and worked for 19 years as a mechanic until my boss finally retired. And then they split his job and they put me in the office, and then they put Bob Stroda in charge of all the maintenance part of it.
The maintenance. All right. Well, good. Well, I just wanted to give everyone an idea of who you are and what you've done. So 40 years. Good for you.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, Randy, when I first began this position 5 years ago, not quite 40, one thing that you and I did is we hopped in a Suburban and we traveled the district.
Some of the district.
Some of the district. I think, didn't we spend 2 days doing it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of the district. But we encompass how many square miles?
550 square miles.
550 square miles. And of that, how many buses, Suburbans, cars do you have in the fleet to cover that 550 square miles?
We've got 33 regular route drivers. Then we've got we have 8 athletic positions. There's several more drivers that some of the drivers split the routes, but that's what we have total.
Okay.
We've got 60 buses total
60. Okay.
for all the different events and routes and things. And then we've got 20-some cars and Suburbans and vans and different things like that, trailers. And
how do you keep track of all that, Randy?
it's just
up there after 40 years, right?
That's right.
And that's what Randy and I joke about. He's nowhere near retirement, and when that time does come, I saw your eye there, but just a wealth of knowledge and so much up there. And jokingly, the other day, I had a colleague call me about school closings, and my very last sentence to that person was, well, if all else fails, just say because Randy Heller said so, and it will all be okay.
Oh, sure.
So, there you go. Randy, I have notes here because there's so much to talk about. And earlier you had mentioned Bob Stroda. You have a few guys here on staff at the bus shop that take care of the 60 buses and cars and Suburban. Who are these folks and what do they do?
Well, we have Lath Bender, and he does the service work, fixes the tires and changes oil and cleans and does about everything to do with the shop here.
Okay.
And then we've got Brandon Siebel, and he's a mechanic.
Okay.
And then we got Ben Freeman, who drives a bus, and then he stays in during the school year, drives his bus in the morning, stays here, he fuels everything, washes everything, gets everything ready for the afternoon route, and then he drives in his route home and then so he isn't here the entire day,
Right.
but the school
Right.
day is. And then Bob Strode is our head mechanic, and he's in charge of making sure everything gets
Goes.
fixed, and that's right.
That it goes forward and backward.
That's right.
And stops. So one thing that's very unique about our district is when you talk about those guys and what they do here, I don't know if people realize how truly in-house our bus shop is. Do our buses go out for work? Explain to me, if you will, about the type of work that it occurs here. It's pretty much all-inclusive, isn't it?
Just pretty much everything that needs done. We don't do front-end alignments. We have to send that out. And some of the newer buses have the computers on them, or we don't have software. We can't get software to diagnose problems, so we have to send them to the dealerships for that. But pretty much everything else, the guys in here in the shop do.
And those two examples that you did give us, how often does that happen throughout a year?
Not very often.
Not very often. So who's responsible for that budget that gets to handle all that good stuff?
That would be you.
Oh, that's me. Well, thank you. Thank you kindly. So, all right, Randy, moving on here. How many drivers do we have total in our fleet?
We've got 33 regular route drivers, and then we've got 10 subs.
Okay. All right. Randy, I have a question for you. Can you think off the top of your head what our longest route would be, considering we encompass 550 square miles, clear to the north and the south, way to the east and a little to the west? What approximately, people have a tendency to think that kids are on for hours and hours. What do you think is the longest bus ride that we have here at Chapman?
Well, the way it's set up is we have it's called a double routing.
Double
so
routing, yep.
The small buses go around and they pick up kids in their area that go to the high school or the middle school.
Okay.
And then they meet a big bus along that route somewhere, and the kids switch to the big bus, come to Chapman. Then the small buses go back to get all the elementary kids in their area and take them to the elementary school closest to them.
Right.
So I try to set the routes up where nobody's on the bus more than an hour.
Okay.
You know, there's a couple cases where they are, but it's just because of the miles.
Right.
So.
And some of that wait time too, because wouldn't a feeder get to a spot possibly before a big bus for that transfer? Is that some of the time as well?
Some of the time, but
Yep.
everybody kind of tries to get their routes tweaked to where nobody has to wait on
Right.
each other. So
Right.
unless
Okay.
the weather conditions would be, causing that, but otherwise, pretty much everybody gets there pretty close to the same time.
Okay, cool, good deal. In talking about all of those kids that start out on the feeder bus, then transfer to the bigger bus, and after school, vice versa, off the top of our heads, I can remember the very last time that we talked about this. I think we had 70 or 72% of our 1,100 plus kids that ride a bus.
Yes,
Is that about right?
I think it's a little over 700 kids that we
A little over 700 of our 1,100 kiddos ride the bus.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to get into all of those kids that ride in the weather conditions. So we'll be back in just a minute. Thanks. Welcome back, everyone, to the USD 473 update. I'm Lacey Sells, Superintendent of Schools, here at the Transportation Building with our Transportation, Randy Heller. Randy, before we broke for the break, we were talking about the percentage of kids, the number of kids that ride a school bus. And here at 473, 700 of our 1,100 students are on a bus. And then we put into the equation those that drive or are beginning to drive. And then we think about all of the staff that come from near and far, starting first and foremost with our cooks that report anywhere between 5 and 5:30 a.m. Then next would be our bus drivers out warming up buses and so forth. Let's talk a little bit and explain to folks about our weather closings. We're just coming off of one of those. The weather didn't come through like we thought it did, but let's just, you and I, share with our community about how we make that decision.
Okay.
You want to go first, or do you want me to?
Well, normally when we know it's going to be bad, we communicate, of course, the night before, and then you go north somewhere, and I usually go south somewhere, kind of check a few of the roads that I know are typically, get bad.
Right.
And then I call some of the drivers, and then I call a couple transportation directors around the area, and then I'm assuming you talk to superintendents
Yep.
and whoever.
Yep.
So, and then we get back together around 5:30, and then because we need to have our call made by 6 o'clock, because we have drivers that get started usually by 6 o'clock. So we try to make sure and have that call made by 6.
Right. And I think a lot of times you and I have so much deeper conversation than that in regards to possibly children standing out waiting for the bus and the temperatures, how cold it is during that time, what the weather conditions are. We talk about the number of faculty, staff, and children that are going to be on the roads. We talk about morning conditions versus afternoon. One thing that you and I always try to impress upon each other is making a decision as early as possible so we can let parents know, grandparents, babysitters, whoever the case may be, about babysitting services, childcare, whatever. We made the call this last time very early. One thing I forgot to mention was the warnings. We always fall back on a warning. It's a little different when there's a watch or advisory, but we leave it to the powers that be with the weather and their knowledge and expertise. And so a lot of times we watch on that too. So it's a hard decision to make, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, you're always thinking, I hope I'm making the right decision. And also, I'll probably talk about this forever, but what is happening in the Northland might not be happening in the Southland, or vice versa. And with the miles that are apart for so many of our families, there are just so many. Our district is just so unique, isn't it?
It is.
Speaking of another very unique situation that we're able to offer, or opportunity that we're able to offer kids here at 473, I'm going to take us to warmer times would be our summer runs, and then let's talk about our athletic runs.
Okay.
So athletic runs, let's start with that actually. How do these run?
Well, I'd like to make one more comment about
yes.
the winter weather. One of the things we try to do is think about as many kids that drive. There's a lot more students that drive than ever before.
Yes.
And they are not
Young kids, too.
They're not experienced
young
drivers
kids.
like
Right.
the school bus drivers. So that's, when people don't understand, they think the buses can get around, this isn't that bad. They don't think about how many students actually drive.
That's an excellent point. Excellent point.
So athletic runs.
Yeah,
we have
athletic runs.
We have 8 routes, and I've broken down our district map into sections, into 8 different sections. So we have drivers for each one, and we've got a few of the drivers that don't want to do it every day, so they kind of break it up, and so we've got several more drivers. But there's actually 8 routes. They run from after school. They leave at 6 o'clock. Most of them are home by 7:30. So.
How many other districts around the state offer that type of
None that I'm aware
none
of.
that you're aware of? Every single day that there is school and there's an activity afterwards, you can come down to the district gym and see a solid line of 8 buses that are transporting hundreds of kids home from various activities. It's quite a unique opportunity, and one that we're thankful to be able to do in the time of state finances and legislation that's occurring in Topeka. To be able to continue to do that, we're very happy and honored to do so, because a lot of our middle school students ride those athletic routes, as well as the high school students that aren't driving. Parents are very, very thankful and very courteous to always share appreciation for this feature. In the summertime, let's take it to warmer weather. How does that work in the summer with those routes?
The routes in the summertime are pickup points. We don't go door to door picking kids up or taking them back. So we set up routes to where we think the most kids will be. So, and then I make out routes with times, approximate times, and then the route. So in case somebody wants to meet along that route, or they can come to the pickup point where the bus will be. So.
Awesome, good. Good. All right, we're just knocking this list right off. Okay, I want to go back to bus drivers. And do we just, after a driver has gone through all of their training and gotten all of their certification, been cleared, all of that, do we just give them a bus and say, see you when school's out at the end of the year? We don't do that. No, we have monthly bus meetings. Right. And talk with me a little bit, the importance, the requirements of those bus meetings and why we have those.
Well, they're safety meetings, obviously, so I try to have law enforcement come to quite a few of them because they've got, a lot of times, have a lot of the latest knowledge of new rules, regulations, laws, whatever, and they've working accidents and seeing different situations out there. I feel like they're good to have to keep the drivers updated and keep them thinking safety every day.
Right.
I mean, and I know they all do, but it's nice to be reminded once in a while, you know, because we do not want to be one of the statistics.
Right.
We'd rather see them on TV or something.
Right, and here I'll go again with our 550 square miles. Here in Chapman, at Chapman Elementary, Middle, and High School, we have the pleasure of working with the Chapman Police Department. Then we get towards Blue Ridge or Enterprise or Rural Center. We're out of Chapman PD jurisdiction, so then we begin working with the Dickinson County Sheriff's Department and office, those deputies, and then beyond that, the Kansas Highway Patrol. As you mentioned, with our safety meetings, the Highway Patrol always comes in prior to school and does a review of all of the buses, and it's over and done that quick, thanks to all the guys here and their efforts and always having those buses ready. In mentioning the Chapman Police Department, Dickinson County Sheriff's Office, and the Kansas Highway Patrol, I'm a firm believer, as Randy said, we don't ever want to be a statistic, but if and when that unfortunate situation does occur, we want to know everybody there. I don't want to meet a deputy on the scene, or Randy doesn't want to meet the police chief on scene or wherever the wreck or wherever it may be. We've always worked really hard in all of our plannings to make sure that we know each other and it's a joint effort, it's a partnership. It's fun having those guys come into the bus meeting because that takes away me saying, oh, please don't do this, you saying, you better not do that, but law enforcement that wheels and deals with the seriousness of safety, especially on these big yellow school buses each and every day, is of ginormous importance. So, all righty. Well, with that, Randy, I think this will wrap up our segment of the transportation piece, and I appreciate you taking time this morning to share with everyone, and we'll take a quick break and then be back to wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi folks, Lacey Sell, Superintendent Chapman, back here with our USD 473 update. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Randy Heller. It's a pleasure to work with Mr. Heller each and every day. When you stop and think about the magnitude of the efforts and work and drive that comes out of this facility each and every day for over 700 students, it is amazing. I just thank all of the drivers for their efforts each and every day, not only on morning routes, but afternoon, athletic routes, summer routes, all of that. We talk all the time about our drivers are the first that our kiddos see in the morning, and so the emphasis that they put on the day, their attitude, whatever it may be, just great, huge, enormous thanks to all of our bus drivers. I wanted to end this show this morning with sharing with you about all of our holiday and Christmas happenings that will be occurring soon. I'm going to look at my cell phone because I have all kinds of apps and information on it. I say that because for those of you that would like to, our district website is usd473.net. You can follow us on Facebook at USD473, and then we are also on Twitter at 473Irish. So I've just gone to the district website, and I want to share all of the fun Christmas programs that are coming up. For those of you that would like to come out to any of the elementary schools, even the middle school and the high school, when we have these events, please do. It's not just for mom and dad and grandma and grandpa. If you're in the neighborhood or the area, come on out. So with that, I'm going to start on Monday, December 7th. The Rural Center Christmas program will be at 7 p.m. The next night, on Tuesday, December 8th, Enterprise will be having their Christmas program at 7 p.m. Then on Thursday, feel free to go to the Blue Ridge Christmas program. Again, it's at 7 p.m. On Sunday, December 13th, Chapman Middle School will have their Christmas program at 2:30, and then following later that evening will be Chapman High School with their Christmas program at 6. Last but not least then is the Christmas program for Chapman Elementary School on Tuesday, December 15th at 7 p.m. So lots of Christmas programs and events happening. One that we want to be sure that our entire school communities knows about and is aware of is our USD 473 Christmas Open House. This will be on Wednesday, December 9th from 1:30 to 4:30 at 822 North Marshall. Please feel free to come and celebrate the holiday season with us. We will have all kinds of drawings and raffles. Are just looking to have fellowship and friendship as we start the holiday season. So again, if you're in town, if you want to make a special trip over, if you are out and about, don't hesitate to come, because we would like to have you all at our Christmas open house. So with that, I thank you for the opportunity to provide this 473 update. And on behalf of all of USD 473, home of the Irish, we wish you a safe and happy holiday season. Thanks and bye.
USD 473 update on Eagle Community Television is brought to you by Branson and Chapman, professional entertainers from Branson, Missouri, performing in Chapman for you. Don and Mary Rickley, Coldwell Banker Maury Custer Realtors, supporting USD 473 and the families and communities keeping it alive. Carl Trucking, strong supporters of the USD 473 school system and all they do for our youth. KVK Incorporated Building Systems Management, providing quality service for all your residential and commercial heating and air conditioning needs. Mojo Music in downtown Chapman, Kansas, now offering lessons. Call or stop in today. Kohlhoff Pharmacy, your family-owned pharmacy, voted best pharmacy in the Flint Hills, offering free delivery to Chapman. Chapman Food Mart. Chapman Food Mart is your hometown market, supporting USD 473, its families, and the community. And Eagle Communications, our community connected.